What is it that separates the elite from the mediocre, or maybe even the top of the top performers from the ultimate legends of their game? The argument I want to make today is that success can come down to an attribute. And I want to give you the 3 characteristics of how successful people use this in whatever it is they're doing. So what exactly is it that I'm talking about? Well, what I like to title this is So you want to know the proven secret to winning at business and in life. Well, welcome. You have landed on the right channel, my friends. Maybe you've had the same question like I've had. What is it that separates the elite from the mediocre, or maybe even the top of the top performers from the ultimate legends of their game? Now, there are many things involved with this. It could be something related to a skill. Maybe you just simply need to learn a new skill and get better at something. Maybe it's a belief. You have the skill, but deep down inside, you don't believe that things will work out for you. But instead of a skill to learn or a belief to have, the argument I want to make today is that success can come down to an attribute. And this one proven attribute can be the thing that can bust you through a wall or overcome the hurdle that's keeping you back. So what exactly is it that I'm talking about? Well, what I like to title this is called Going Dark. And be sure to stick around, because what I want to do first is define what going dark means, and then I want to give you the 3 characteristics of how successful people use this in whatever it is they're doing. So to better understand what I mean by going dark, I think it also helps us to understand what it means to win. So what really helped me understand this was a book by Tim Grover called Winning. Tim is a coach, or was a coach, of some of the greatest elite athletes and business individuals on the planet. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Russell Wilson. Well, in the book, Tim shows an exercise that he gives to all his clients so that they define winning in one word. And what's interesting in their definitions is he can tell the difference between a champion, even somebody that's really good at what they do, but also against the elite of the elite, the legends of sport or business. In fact, this was so compelling to me that I included an excerpt in my own book called Undeniable, and I'll leave a link in the description if you're interested in checking this out. But I had to put it in my own book because it really caught me. So let me just read to you what some of the definitions are. Okay, so for the first group of individuals, here are how they defined the word winning: glorious, euphoric, success, domination, achievement, power, satisfaction, triumph, awesome, amazing. Now, these are certainly good definitions, but like I put in my book here, the problem is they represent the majority of what most people will say. But on the other hand, let's take a look at how elite athletes, the legends of their game, define winning. Okay, so here's their list of words: uncivilized, hard, nasty, unpolished, dirty, rough, unforgiving, unapologetic, uninhibited. And then Kobe Bryant's answer says this: it's everything. Winning is everything. Now, I also have a list of a couple of athletes that I've been inspired by, and I take a look at their definition of winning and what it was that made them so great in their sports. So the first one is Steve Prefontaine. Now, if you follow track and field, Steve is a legend in the sport. He went to the University of Oregon, and then he later joined the USA track and field team and competed in the Olympics. Now, listen to this quote on Steve's version of going dark, or his definition of winning. He says this, and I'll read: "Someone may beat me, but they will have to bleed to do it." The other athlete that I admire so much in this area is Matt Fraser, the 5-time CrossFit champion. He would talk about, and if you watch his amazing documentary, he talks about going dark. He goes into a dark place in his mind to prepare himself for the grueling workout that he's about to do. And just look at Matt here. You know, he's busting it. I think, if I'm right on this, he even worked out in his parents' basement all by himself in the early days of his CrossFit championship. He would basically say, and I paraphrase him, "From eyes open to eyes shut, all I did was think about training for the games." Because see, here's the important thing. At some point, you're going to have all the information that you need to know what to do and how to do it. But the transformation, becoming elite in your chosen endeavor, is going to come down to this single attribute, this secret proven trait of going dark. So now I know the big question is, you're going, okay, this all sounds great, but how do I go dark? How do we persist at superhuman human levels to reach everything that we desire. And this comes down to another important thing that I like to say, and it's your response. You see, everybody comes to that fork in the road where they meet a challenge head on. They have all the information, they know how to do it, but they hit that fork, that challenge that's in front of them. And their response to that challenge is going to determine the success that they achieve. Now, one response is to become the victim and use all the challenges as an excuse why you don't want to try any harder. But the other response, like Michael Jordan, Matt Fraser, Steve Prefontaine, anybody that's elite and successful in your life takes that same challenge and they become the hero of their life. So now all of that can be wrapped up in what is called the triple package. The triple package, the 3 traits that I'd mentioned that help people go dark. And it's a very interesting concept created by an author named Amy Chua. She's a best-selling author, and she and her husband did a very interesting research study where they looked at 8 different cultural groups in the United States that have achieved certain levels of success. And they identified a very interesting set of 3 characteristics. And these 3 characteristics are an inferiority complex, a superiority complex, and impulse control. I also like to think of impulse control as extreme focus, or in the topic of this video, the ability to go dark. Also, if you like what you're hearing so far in this video, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and we'll keep pumping this content out so that everybody can get more of it. Okay, now you may think that some of these traits contradict each other. Like, how can you have an inferiority complex but at the same time have a superiority complex? But what you'll actually see is how the second and the third trait, the superiority complex and the impulse control, those are actually a result of having an inferiority complex. It is this insufficiency that drives the elite person to become superior and have a maniacal level of focus. Because here's the interesting thing. Let's say that you only have an inferiority complex. If that's the case, then you simply turn into a victim and you quit. You give up on everything. But then on the other hand, if you only have a superiority complex, then you think that you're so good you never have to practice or get better at anything else. And if you lack impulse control, then that means you can't focus on anything and you get consumed by what is called shiny object syndrome, where you just jump from one thing to the next, but you never are in it long enough to actually make the gains you need to. But when you combine these 3, you actually get a synergistic effect where the sum is greater than the individual parts. So when you go back and you look at the Michael Jordans, you go back and you look at the Matt Frasers or the Steve Prefontaines, you can see how they all had some form of inferiority complex that drove their hunger. For Jordan, as you probably well know, he was cut from the junior high basketball team. For Matt Fraser, it was a fracture of his lower back that kept him from joining the Olympic powerlifting team. And for Steve Prefontaine, it was everybody telling him that he was too small to play any other sport. But instead of becoming a victim to the inferiority complex, they created a superiority complex, knowing that deep down inside they could create a chip on their shoulder and show the world who they could really become. And then, of course, as we're talking about in this video, the going dark aspect is the level of the impulse control, the level of maniacal of focus. And then to wrap it up, going dark is part 3 of that formula. The impulse control, the insane ability to focus, to keep training even though when it feels like you're about to drop out, to keep studying even though you've been going for 12 hours already, to keep pivoting in your business endeavors, realizing that any hurdle that comes along the way is simply a signal that shows you how to get better in that area. So going dark on your elite level of success is a byproduct of counterbalancing the inferiority complex with the superiority complex. Therefore, having that elite level of focus, going from simply information to transformation. So if you like this concept of going dark and you want to see another real life example, then click on the next video where I talk about the successful traits of Jeff Bezos and his pursuit of building Amazon.